Hi, I'm Mark Walvoord, and I'm here to talk to you today about ecological identity and the power of reconnection to nature, to each other. And to get us in the mindset of this, I'd like you to think about your favorite nature spot. Mentally put yourself there. Maybe it's your favorite fishing hole or city park, a hiking trail you go to, your own backyard, your parents' garden, some amazing awe-filled place you went on vacation. Put yourself there mentally, your favorite spot in nature. One of mine is a 60-acre lot of land down in Austin, Texas. It used to be my grandparents' and great-grandparents' land. Now it's a city trail that anybody can go to. And on that land, there's prairie, cedar forest, a spring-fed creek where we would wade through with cousins and aunts and uncles and parents. I remember looking at the tadpoles and fish and algae and wondering about all those interactions going on with so many hundreds of thousands and millions of creatures, and walking out into the forest, being separated, even though I was in the city, separated from the noises of the city, and just kind of in awe of the silence and all of the things going on around me, wondering how much stuff was teeming under my feet, how much life. How about you? When you think of your favorite nature spot, what are you seeing? What does it sound like? What do you smell? What does the air feel like on your skin? What are you thinking about? What questions are you asking? What are you curious about? And how does it make you feel? Allergic, nervous, at peace? Imagine yourself there. What's amazing to me is through modern technology, how many of these environments we've been able to spread out into. Through textiles, through HVA systems, we have heat and cool to get out to a diversity of environments. We have water that we can get it where we need to go and purify it for drinking and for crop irrigation. We can terrascape the land. We can go to the grocery store and get food that's not grown here in our state or in our country, and that's not even in season because of refrigeration and refrigerated transport. But with that has come urbanization, with some positives and with some negatives. Urbanization, that is concentrating humankind into city centers, so more dense populations of humans. That means we have access to goods and services that we might not otherwise have. We can more efficiently have transportation, healthcare, education, all of these wonderful things that come with urbanization. And we're increasingly becoming urbanized, moving out of rural areas into cities internationally. With that, we also get some negatives. Higher rates of pollution, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. Cities are built with concrete and other materials that hold heat, so they become heat sinks. Higher rates of stress and mental health disorders are also associated with urbanization, moving to city centers. So why is that? One hypothesis is biophilia. It's not new. E.O. Wilson introduced it in 1984. Bio means life. Philia means love. So love of life. It's this idea, this hypothesis that humans evolved to be in connection with nature. So think back, don't think back. Imagine back 300,000 years when humans were in Africa, Homo sapiens, our species. The individuals that had the DNA, had the genetics to be able to deal with the chaos and the cycles of nature and still live longer and reproduce more, left more offspring with that DNA than the individuals that didn't have the genetics to deal with that nature cycles and chaos that they were in the midst of. They didn't have urbanization, they didn't have the technologies we have today. So the population of humans that we're descended from had that genetics that was connected to nature. And if this is so, we should see some evidence of it. I'm a scientist by training. I got to have evidence. I'm going to give you 3 lines of evidence that biophilia may be true. One is from empirical and observational studies. So there are thousands of studies out there that show that connection to nature, time in nature, leads to health benefits that are physical, mental, cognitive function, and also affective benefits. And in fact, there's so much evidence out there for this. The United States government, through the Environmental Protection Agency, has set up an eco-health relationship browser. So you can go there and click on these bubbles and see what it is that's impacted by connection to nature. Faster healing from surgery, lower depressive states, reduced hypertension. Those are just some of them, of the thousands of papers, and this is a source that you can go look for the sources, the references, the citations, the abstracts, and how believable these studies are. So that's just one line of evidence that biophilia hypothesis is true. There's another one, and this is in the counseling psychology field. Therapists who use nature-based methods see improvements in their clients. So why would they see improvements in their clients when they use nature-based therapies? It's because innate within humans is a need to be connected and in and part of nature. And perhaps this one is the most interesting, and that is that we don't actually have to go out into nature. There's evidence that some of these same benefits happen when we bring nature into us. So in our built environments, our offices, our homes, our city centers, if we integrate nature components like a potted plant, or the sounds of birds singing, or trickling water, or even if we put those in virtual reality settings, we see some of those same health, physical health, mental health, affective, cognitive function benefits. So 3 great lines of evidence that it seems like something within us connects us to nature, and we can be healthier when we're in connection with nature. But we've urbanized ourselves and separated ourselves from nature, and seen some negative benefits like this higher stress and mental health disorders. If that's the case, we should see some bigger, longer-term impacts, and in fact we do. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, they're a United Nations group of about 195 member countries. Kind of like the EPA, they've consolidated all of these thousands of sources, articles, book chapters, reports, blue papers that all come out to give evidence of how humans have impacted our climate and our world. And what they found with high confidence is that humans are the cause of greenhouse gases being greater atmospheric conditions. So more carbon dioxide, more methane. They act like a blanket over the earth to trap the sun's rays. That's raised our temperature over the last century 1.1 degrees Celsius. I know that sounds tiny. 1 degree over a century, who cares? It's enough to melt the ice caps, change ocean currents and wind currents, and change our very climate. In fact, it's caused from the melting of glaciers 8 inches rise in ocean levels in the past century. What that does, as it's changing our ocean currents and our wind cycles, is more severe and catastrophic weather events, like drought flood cycles, cyclones, tornadoes, hurricanes. Those are happening more frequently because of that 1.1 degrees Celsius change, 8-inch sea level rise. And in fact, it's put 3.6 billion people on Earth. That's not quite half, almost half of the humans on Earth, usually in low socioeconomic and developing countries, more at risk, to the point that just in the last decade even, 15 times greater mortality for those 3.6 billion humans on Earth. Overall, we have less food and water security. More polluted water means spread of disease and also higher stress and mental health disorders. I know that's a lot. It's depressing. It's anxiety-ridden. And maybe it's too big to even think about. Maybe you've already kind of blocked out having to think about these things. But I'm going to push you a little bit more. Let's look here in Oklahoma. Even in Oklahoma County, we're seeing the impacts of climate change. Again, the numbers might not seem like a lot, but 3.2 fewer days per decade over the last century here in our county are below freezing. Imagine what that does to soil, insect, and larvae, and other organisms that are around. It changes our interactions that we have. Let's look a little bit bigger at our state. We're a big agricultural state. What this severe and catastrophic storms change happening means is we have different flood and drought cycles. If you're in agriculture, you know this. It means we don't get refreshed water down to the water table, down to our aquifers, and we can't irrigate to grow forage to feed our cattle. It's impacting us right where we are, here in Oklahoma. So here's what I'm laying out for you. Here's the dominoes. If we've evolved to be connected to nature, but we've urbanized and separated ourselves from nature, then we make decisions without considering everything that's going on out there, where we've separated ourselves from. We make eco-unconscious decisions. And that's led to climate change. Strong confidence that this is happening because of human-caused impacts. And when we try to think about this huge, difficult, some people call it a wicked problem of climate change, we tend to shut down. We get eco-anxiety or climate anxiety. It's part of our fight, flight, or freeze response. And it turns out With climate change, climate challenges, usually it's the freeze response, especially with younger people in their 20s and 30s. So that means that this continues. When we freeze, we can't stop the dominoes from falling, and they continue. But I said in my title slide this was going to be a talk of hope. So let's turn to that and pivot to what this means in case you're depressed. There's some easy steps you can take. So increase your eco-literacy, your eco-knowledge, your attitudes about nature. So many ways you can do this. We have access to so much information on the internet. We can stream documentaries on our favorite streaming network about nature and how nature works and climate. We can take a class. We can enroll in a workshop, read a book about how nature works and organismal interactions. You can increase your attitude about nature by learning about it. Another really easy step that you can take, this helps you, your families, your communities, your society, spend more time in nature. I don't know what your favorite nature spot is. Maybe you can even find a new one. While you're working, take a break and walk outside. While you're studying, go outside and sit by Bronco Lake here on campus or a city park that's near you. Go fishing. Garden on the weekends. Take up a hobby that involves nature. Just spending more time in nature, turns out it brings hope to mitigate some of these climate challenges and eco-anxiety. The third one is actually the most important and takes a little more explanation. We have to centralize our ecological identities to truly bring hope. So this is my area of research, ecological identity. So first I'm going to define identity, then ecological identity, then how can we centralize it? Identity is this definition of it is how we see ourselves, that's in our head, our psychology, how we think others see us, that's the social part. So this is a psychosocial theory of identity. And it says that we have multiple identities. That is, there are some partial identities that we have, our race, our ethnicity, our religion, our political affiliation, our family roles. These are partial identities that may get activated and validated in certain situations more than others. And they're a little more fluid. They change throughout our day or our week or our lives. They're a little bit more stable by adulthood, but they still get differentially activated in different contexts. But we also have a central person identity. This is an identity that's higher in the hierarchy. It's more prominent and important. It shows up across contexts by the time we develop it in adulthood. And it turns out ecological identity is a type of person identity, one of these types of central identities. So what is ecological identity, not just identity? Well, it's the way we see ourselves as a part of nature and nature's cycles, and how we think other people around us see us as a part of nature and nature's cycles. Is it out there and separate from us? Are we thinking about the food we buy and where it came from, and the water we drink and where it came from, and the weather that's happening and what's causing it, or not? How central is your ecological identity? How often are you thinking about your place in nature and nature's cycles? Is it low in your hierarchy or higher in your hierarchy? How many different situations can you name where it comes to the surface? Again, I'm telling you this to help us as a society, as a people, as Oklahomans. We have to centralize our ecological identity. It's the greatest predictor, more than knowledge and even connectedness to nature, for promoting pro-nature behaviors and mitigating further climate disaster. So, how can we centralize our ecological identities? Well, it's a major transformation. After we're adults, and that's more stable, our person identities, our ecological identities, in order to move it, to centralize it, to have the greatest benefits, it's a transformation. It's a complete transformation of who we are. Luckily, transformative learning theory is a theory that helps us explain how these major kinds of transformations happen. And it says that first we have to notice. In this case, we're noticing the environmental calamity, not being scared of it, noticing it, and not just the negative, but the positive, be in awe of all that's going on in nature. Next, critically reflect and be mindful about what you've observed and noticed. And, social component, you have to dialogue about what you've been critically reflecting on and noticing. So I'm going to make these a little more practical. Here they are. Here's your action items, if you didn't already have them. How do you notice? Lucky for you, this overlaps with number 1 and 2 I already gave you. Learn more about nature and nature cycles, the environment, sustainable development, sustainable choices that you can make. Spend more time in nature. The ones we already said that bring you hope will also help centralize your ecological identity. The second one's much harder. This takes a lot of cognitive function and bandwidth. How do we critically reflect and be mindful? We're not good at this. We have to be pushed. I suggest using technology and using each other to do this. Go on a nature hike with a friend and have them prompt you. How are you feeling? Are you feeling connected to nature? What are you seeing and noticing while we're out here in this nature environment? Use a meditation app. Like I said, use the technology. It will prompt you how to be more mindful while you're out in nature. I've even had great luck using AI. Choose your favorite large language model AI and try typing something like, I'm going on a 30-minute walk in nature in the Central Plains of Oklahoma. Prompt me every few minutes with a critically reflective prompt to help me think about my ecological identity. It'll give you amazing prompts. Let's use the technology. Not too much, because it uses a lot of water and it's bad for the environment, but use it some. That'll help you to get some critical reflection. Meditate, pray, walk a labyrinth. All of these things can help you be mindful and critically, rationally reflect on your place in nature. But finally, like I said, it's also social. We can't just keep it inside and keep it to ourselves. It's not going to happen. To centralize our ecological identities, we need to dialogue with others about it. Dialogue in general is great. We're social creatures. We need that. This is critical dialogue. This is talking about where are my assumptions or worldviews coming from that I'm questioning or frustrated about or unsure about as I think about my place in nature and what's going on around me and how I'm separate or not from nature and nature's cycles. To do that, I encourage you to find some dedicated group of other people who are working on centralizing their ecological identity. Volunteer regularly with OKC Beautiful in a community garden. Join the Oklahoma Compost and Sustainability Association, the Sierra Club of Oklahoma. Find some other people, a hunting club, a fishing club. We'll go less environmentalist if that is easier for you. Find some people that are spending time in nature that you can critically reflect and dialogue, spend time in nature, and learn about nature with. In fact, I encourage you on your way home today, talk to somebody you came here with or meet somebody new. Tell them about your favorite place in nature and why that's your favorite place. That's a great start. I invite all of you to join me on this journey to centralize your own and our society's ecological identities so that we can move toward mitigating climate challenges and reconnect to nature and each other. Thank you.